Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of our message series, Game Changer. In this series, we're looking at how Jesus exercised his authority and how it is so different from the leaders of his day and of ours too. We're going to see how Jesus is Lord, and he does not lord that over us. Last week, which was the Transfiguration Sunday, we looked at how at the mountaintop transfiguration experience, Jesus revealed to 3 select followers his power and his glory. But as an exclamation mark to this show of glory, his first act after they see his power is to reach out to his apostles and to comfort them. You see, what a person does with their power says more than the amount of power that they have. And Jesus uses his power to come to us. In today's gospel, we see Jesus use that power to reach out, to bring peace to a chaotic situation. It starts at the end of a long day of preaching and miracle working, when Jesus sends his apostles ahead while he hangs back to pray. The 12 sail about halfway through the waters when suddenly a violent storm springs up. They're being tossed around like a little toy boat in a bathtub, and it's taking all they've got to keep this boat from capsizing. And in the midst of all this chaos, they notice someone walking towards them on the water, which of course only sends them into more of a panic. We read, "When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, 'It is a ghost.' And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them and said, 'Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid.'" I like that Jesus spoke out immediately. He didn't hesitate to reassure them that it was just him. And we already saw something like this just last week. Even in the midst of a great show of power, whether it's suddenly glowing on a mountaintop or walking on the water, Jesus is concerned with encouraging his followers. I don't think Jesus shows his power like this to frighten us into submission. Rather, I believe that he displays his authority so that we can be at peace, trusting him to be able to take care of us. And he does. You see, Jesus doesn't want us to stay afraid. How can we be all that he's calling us to be when we're cowering in fear? You just can't do it. At the first sign of the apostles being afraid, he always brings them back down to earth, saying, "Take heart, it's just me. I'm here with you. No matter what crazy things are going on in your life, trust me. Trust me to handle it." Peter, upon hearing that this ghost is actually Jesus, says this, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." Jesus said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat, started walking on the water, and came toward Jesus. I can just imagine the apostles totally freaking out, trying to keep the boat from sinking because the storm is just raging through all of this, but also watching the amazement as Peter joins Jesus on the water. This is boldness at its finest. Peter asks to share in the supernatural experience where Jesus overrides the laws of nature. He steps out and he starts walking towards Jesus until it's almost like he remembers who he is and where he is. Wait a second, I'm just a regular guy. I can't walk on water. Have you ever tried walking on water? Besides, these waves are about 10 feet tall. This is crazy. And only moments after putting all of his trust in Jesus, Peter doubts, and he begins to sink. more often than I think we would like to admit. I think that we find ourselves in this situation all the time, too. We can be watching God do amazing things in our lives and still be drowning in fear or anxiety and disbelief. The moment where we take our eyes off of Jesus, we find ourselves neck high in trouble. It's almost frustrating, isn't it? We don't have to rely on God all the time, just most of the time, right? Or when we feel like it. And yet, there still remains this truth. God is God, and we are not. The moment we start to act like everything depends on us is the moment when we fall victim to sin and fear. Why? That's because we know in our heart of hearts that we cannot control everything. Nature will take its course. Relationships can break down in ways that we didn't exactly ask for. You might get laid off from your job. You might get an unexpected diagnosis. We don't have power over nature or even over the circumstances of our own lives. So we can easily sink into fear when we rely on ourselves because we know that ultimately we are unreliable. And I can speak to this from personal experience. Every single time I think I've got my stuff together, every single time I think all the ducks are in order and I'm doing great is the moment that I begin to fall. Every single time. The moment I shift my focus away from Jesus and onto myself because I can do it is the moment that I fall flat on my face. And the fact that I can see some of you nodding in agreement means that you've either seen me fall on my face or you have experienced this yourself. I think I'm in good company. Sometimes, friends, this is exactly where we need to stop. We recognize that we are not God. And that totally freaks us out. And so we sink in despair. But we so easily forget the other part of that truth. We are not God. But God is God. Check this out. Jesus immediately reached out his hand and caught Peter, saying, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" When they got into the boat, the wind ceased, and those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." What a change from just moments ago. When the storm came up, all was chaos, not just in nature, but in the hearts of the apostles too. But Jesus' saving presence was enough to just calm everything. Jesus was able to just calm everything. Nature was reminded of who God was, and so were the apostles. They recognized when he stepped into the boat that he was the Son of God, and everything was at peace. The apostles worshiped him in the very same boat in which they just doubted him moments ago. So from today's gospel, we can take away that Jesus uses his divine authority to bring order and peace where there is disorder. He calmed the seas and the violent winds, and then he reached out and he calmed and protected the followers he loved. Jesus certainly shows his power, but it was not for his own sake. It was so that the disciples could remember who God is and that God is for us, even when we are not loyal to him. God is for us, even when we are not loyal to him. Friends, I would like you to think of the storms in your own life. Or maybe the storms that you can see brewing away on the horizon. We've all got them. So think of those storms. I want you to enter those storms, whether they are facing a diagnosis, or a relationship breakdown, or searching for a new job, or whatever. whatever that storm is for you. I want you to enter that storm with your head held high and with your eyes fixed on Jesus. Remember this game-changing truth. God is God, and I am not. Remember that He is the master of the storms, both the natural storms and the storms that happen in our hearts. If we follow His simple command, come, and cling to Him in all of our storms, then I can assure you that the chaos will come to an end, and we will be stronger because of it. Because God is with us, and so nothing at all can stand against us. Because God is with us, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stand against us. Don't ever forget that. May God bless you all.